Allow me to introduce myself.
I am the last sane sports fan.
I am a genius by trade.
I just knew too much. Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Does that make me crazy? Possibly.
Hello everyone and welcome once again to The View from the Midwest. Well, I had intended to do a show yesterday when most of this news would have been fresh. It's still not quite rotten, but we'll just go ahead and get right to it. We'll try to keep today's show a little bit shorter. I've been running kind of long on these things lately. Long for what most people are willing to watch on YouTube anyway. So let's get right into it. Condolences go out to the family of Yogi Berra. Unfortunately, he passed away yesterday, which was very sad news, especially even for people in the Midwest, because he grew up around here just about 30 minutes away from where I live. I grew up in a small Italian community called The Hill, right up in St. Louis. But the thing that we do have to realize is that he lived a fantastic life. I mean, I'm sure that there were bad times, just as there are in anybody's life. But from an outsider's perspective, he lived a fantastic life. I mean, the things that man was able to do, I mean, he got to play with everybody from Joe DiMaggio to Mickey Mantle. I mean, he played with some of the all-time legends, and he's an all-time legend himself in the Yankee uniform. I mean, he got to play for the New York Yankees in and of itself. I mean, for a kid to grow up in St. Louis and then get to play for the New York Yankees, the only thing that could probably be better if he would have played for St. Louis, he wouldn't have gotten the national recognition, perhaps. But growing up in St. Louis, that would have been the ultimate. But to get to go to New York and play baseball and have a great career and ultimately be a mentor for all sorts of people that came through and to kind of be known for those Yogi-isms, it's not over till it's over, and the game is 90% mental and the other half is physical. I'm pretty sure I butchered some of those, but I mean, he had some of those great funny lines. Sometimes he was serious when he said them. It was hard to tell anyway. But he had some great lines, and I do suggest that you look some of those up because they're very amusing. But he lived to 90. He got to see some of the great things in baseball, play with some of the greats. I mean, he was alive when Babe Ruth was around. Obviously didn't get to play with him, but he was a young man. Got to see him, got to hear him on the radio, I have no doubt. Got to see this country transform. I mean, some amazing things happened in his lifespan. Just in the United States, but he got to witness all that, had a huge impact on baseball, one of the best catchers of all time, and ultimately just lived a very fruitful life, and I think he'll be missed, but in a fond way. On to some more sports topics. Kam Chancellor has ended his holdout. He's going to return to the Seattle Seahawks. I think that will do nothing but help them. Now their defense has reunited the Legion of Boom. Obviously, I am happy that this happened after the St. Louis Rams game, which was the Rams' only win so far this season. But I don't know that it would have affected it that much. Kam Chancellor is a heck of a player. I think he's going to transform that defense, and they're going to return a little bit to what they were. But they still do have a few problems up front, and having a safety in there is not necessarily going to change that. They're going to have more help in the passing game, but it's not necessarily going to change everything. I don't think this is going to be an Emmett Smith situation to where the team starts off 0-2, you get a piece like that back, and then all of a sudden they pretty much run the table. Chancellor is an important part of that team. I think he will help them. I think they will probably win their next game, not necessarily due to him, but I think they will win their next game. And going forward, it'll be interesting to see how that Seahawks defense plays with him back in there. Last thing we want to touch on, a little bit more of a serious topic. It's starting to get a little bit scary with the Patrick Kane situation, because you have each side giving out information, kind of stuff is starting to kind of leak out into the press. Nothing overly bad for Patrick Kane himself, but I don't like the way that everything is going. Patrick Kane's lawyer is coming out right away and saying, oh, well, we're confident that my client will be vindicated and all this stuff will be proven untrue, and he's going to return to hockey, which he has done. He is now training with the Chicago Blackhawks. But on the one hand, if the lawyer is that confident, then that shows a good thing for the... But the reason why I say that none of this can be good is because if the lawyer is that confident, then if what he believes is true, then that means that this woman may have made this story up in order to try to get a payday, because that's basically what that would kind of mean, that she's basically kind of looking for some sort of settlement, trying to get money out of him, and ultimately maybe nothing happened, and that's very discouraging, because that's to the point in society that we're at, that we actually have to worry about where the victim is coming from in their lives. Are they telling the truth? And that is not a good thing, because we should be able to wholeheartedly support the victims in these kind of situations and not have to be on the side of somebody who could have perpetrated any kind of terrible crime such as sexual assault. But unfortunately, in today, there are people out there who will make up these kind of stories to try to get money. I hope that this woman is not one of those people. Obviously, I don't want her to have gone through what she alleges she has gone through, because obviously that would not be good for her life going forward. But I hope that she is also not one of those people that is making up stories. On the flip side, a story came out yesterday where an evidence bag that included her rape kit was found on her doorstep, like in between the screen door and the front door, and they don't know how long it was there, because most of the time everybody in the family, this was at the victim's mother's home. Most people use the back door, going kind of around in an alley to get out into to the cars, I imagine. Why was any bit of evidence there? Now the police department is getting all defensive, saying that their handling of all the evidence has been unassailable and immaculate and all this. I just hope that... I don't think that Patrick Kane is necessarily involved in any of this extracurricular stuff that's going on. It's mostly lawyers talking and bandying back and forth and making accusations. I don't think Patrick Kane is involved in any of that. The thing that I worry about with this situation is I hope that we're not getting a college football situation to where the people in a certain community are like, well, we need to protect this guy because he's one of us and he grew up around here, excuse me. And he's our big name that we're going to kind of latch our town's name onto. So we need to protect him and make sure that everything that he does is okay. And make sure that nothing bad happens to him. And we'll just kind of sweep this under the rug. You can't do that. You cannot do that in today's society. Number one, most of these things come out eventually anyway, just because there's so much social media out there that it becomes a he said, she said, and then you get people on both sides trying to agree with this one or trying to agree with that one. The justice system needs to step up and be the guiding force in all of this, and make sure that these things are being handled right. But why would the evidence all of a sudden end up over at the victim's house? That doesn't make any sense. There's a big cloud starting to form over this story, and what makes it even stranger is regardless of what Patrick Kane may have done in the initial instance, whether he was really involved in any kind of sexual assault or whether he was not, the fact is now that the story is becoming even worse and he's not even involved in it. He's off in Chicago playing hockey, which is what he should be doing, and until he needs to be in court. It's just a really bad situation, and regardless of how I feel about Patrick Kane as a player, as a person, I hope that he did not do this kind of thing, because it's not good for the sport that I dearly love, and it's not good for his image, it's not good for the Chicago Blackhawks image, it's not good for the sports image as a whole. So I hope that this thing gets taken care of, but in the proper way. Nothing swept under the rug, everything by the book. That is The View from the Midwest. What are your views on today's topics? Comment, rate, and subscribe. Give us a thumbs up on Facebook or YouTube. And until the next time, I'll see you then.
I remember when I lost my mind. There was something so pleasant about that place. Even your emotions have an echo in so much.